Happy Christmas and welcome to ThinkTech on OC16, Hawaii's weekly newscast on things that matter to tech and to Hawaii. I'm Jay Fidell.
And I'm Alisha Onishi.
In our show tonight, we'll visit the offices and warehouse of Sunetric, one of Hawaii's most successful solar companies, near the Kapa'a Quarry in Kailua.
We had a grand tour by Sunetric's CEO, Alex Tiller, and we learned a lot about what Sunetric is doing, especially in its expansion to the mainland.
First, Alex Tiller took us on a tour of Sunetric's office spaces.
At Sunetric, we found that as we're expanding, it's really important that we try to stay on top of training as much as possible. We have kind of this flex space up here that's a general training area. We do everything from sales training to human resources training to engineering and things like that. We're growing rapidly. You know, last year, this time we had about 80 employees. This year we got about 140. Next year we think we'll have 240. So it's really important for us to try to stay as much on top of the training curve as possible as we bring in new people and create new jobs.
Really curious about the high-tech, modern, right out of the box panels.
Yeah, this is an example of a SunPower solar panel, and it kind of just looks like a black, very sleek photovoltaic panel. There's a couple of different types of technology out there. These might show you a little bit more differential here. We've got a white backing on this so you can see the solar cells. There's polycrystalline and monocrystalline. Long story short, they're all good technologies. There's different cost factors that come into play. Usually the cheaper don't produce quite as much energy. The more expensive produce a little bit more. The technology is amazing. These are 20-year warranted products. It's a very predictable technology. It's the same stuff that NASA uses, that they put on satellites and they fire off into space. The nature of the photovoltaic process, it just happens. When sunlight hits it, it happens. A photon hits the molecule and it literally just knocks an electron right off of it. Those electrons basically get gathered at this point and sent out. There's not a whole lot to go wrong there, and give it some sunlight, give it some light, and it'll produce energy, that's for sure. Europe actually was kind of the forefather of this industry. Germany, to be more specific, they pioneered the photovoltaic business. So they did a lot of the original R&D and so forth. America now, the United States, is the biggest market in the world right now. If you look at all the growth trends, kind of Germany is mature, and they've kind of hit their top end, and now they're on.
They've installed a lot of PV.
I've been there, and you know the median, the grass median in between highways. So you got two different roads going. They'll have solar panels in the middle of that, and on the exit ramps. I mean, it is fascinating. Virtually every roof that you can see will have some sort of a solar array on it, and it's impressive. And there's no reason we can't do that. But no, the Germans did a lot of the innovation. The Americans are now picking up the pace. Where China and some of the Asian countries are really coming in is on the manufacturing side. So a lot of the IP is getting developed in Europe or in the US, and then the manufacturing really is being driven out of some of the Asian countries. We still produce and manufacture some panels in America and in different parts of the country. We carry panels that are American. We're proud to do that too. There's some really good quality companies out there. The US government and some US solar manufacturers have essentially sued the Chinese panel manufacturers and claimed that they were dumping low-cost product below the actual market price onto the market, driving down prices below what are realistic and sustainable. So that'll all get sorted out. We think that will have some change to the market. This is our accounting office. This is if you want to have a look in here. This is Matt's our controller.
Try to smile.
That's This is our director of HR, Tammy Berger. Tammy has the fun job of keeping us all compliant. Our director of finance is hopefully at the bank cashing checks.
Chris? Hey, how you doing?
Right.
Very nice to see you.
John, nice to meet you.
This is Laura Poirier. Laura is our marketing coordinator. So we've got some of our sales guys over here kind of getting ready for their day. Come in. Most of the time they're out of the office, but we like to create an environment where they can come and go as they need. Morning, guys.
Morning. Smile. You're on candid camera.
That's right. This was a project that we built for Waihata, their food distribution company here in town. Kona Brewing was a great partner of ours, and we were happy to get involved with those guys a couple of years ago. We built a sizable system on their roof on Big Island. They're using alternative energy to power the heating and all the offices.
Processing, yeah.
Absolutely. It's an energy intensive
Sure.
process. This is Kona Commons on the Big Island. This is the largest.
Oh, sure, I remember that. That was a really important project.
This was one of the, this is still, to my knowledge, the biggest rooftop solar array in the state. This is Hungwang-ji Mission School. So that's Poly.
Oh yeah, no, that's a recent. You and I talked about that project.
We did, and you can see we have a solar array on this roof and on this roof, and then actually right here and right here, kind of in the background there, also. And that was part of our innovative PPA offering, the Sunetric Capital program, where actually we paid for the solar system. We bought it. We put it on their roof. It was over $1 million system. We put it on their roof, and we agreed to sell them electricity. This side of the room is commercial operations. We do virtually every single, actually I should say every single large-scale commercial project really gets produced on this side. And the other side of that kind of divider wall there, those guys, that team is mostly accountable for our residential. Everybody's busy right now. It's our busiest time of year.
Busy because the end of the year means the tax credits get included for this year.
That's right.
So how much are we talking about in tax credits? And can you help me by explaining why the legislature should continue them next year and not listen to those who would call for their repeal?
Yeah. The federal government provides a 30% incentive, and that's available to all Americans that are taxpayers. The state of Hawaii very wisely decided to step in with their own incentive. We're the only state in our situation. We're the ones that burn oil. Everybody else burns coal and natural gas. In 2008, I believe it was, the state came out with the Hawaii Energy Initiative, where we decided to, as a state, target 40% of the energy that should be produced in this state should be produced from alternative energy. In order to help that along and to support that, they also provided a tax incentive that's worth 35% of a project cost. Now, this is a very generous incentive when you look at it compared to other states, but we're not other states. We have the most expensive energy in the country. We burn oil. We're highly susceptible to these international issues. I don't think that the incentive package should be around forever. The goal of an incentive package is to get a good foothold going of people subscribing to these types of systems and creating their own energy. It's just now really starting to take hold. I think we should stick the course. We need to dig in, do it for a few more years, and then really what we need to be talking about is a soft landing approach. We've seen this. We've seen this in Germany. Germany is, again, we go back to this German model. They're the most mature market in the world, and they wisely planned what their descent out of their incentive package was going to be. And what that does is it allows banks and other investment groups that actually fund these types of projects, or homeowners, to make a wise decision.
Then Alex took us through Sunetric's warehouse adjacent to the office.
This is our warehouse, and it's right off of our office space. We thought it was really important to put our, this is kind of our bank, if you will. I mean, we've got millions of dollars out here right now as we speak, hopefully not sitting around for too long, but we are a construction company at our core. You know, we do the business development, the consulting front end that basically finds the client. We do the engineering. We do all the financial side of it to get the customer to the point where they decide to go. And then from that point forward, we turn into a construction company, and it's time to actually have some boots on the roof, putting projects in, and that's what we do based out of this section of the company. So, you know, we are a roofing company, we are an electrical company, we are an alternative energy company, all jammed kind of into one, and that requires all the parts and pieces that go along with that. We do a lot of staging really from here. We try not to have stuff sit in the warehouse too long.
So what's staging? I'm really curious about that. This is going to help you because when you get out to the job site, you don't have to fool around. You're ready to go.
That's right.
So less time out in the field.
That's right. What we try to do is basically a just-in-time process where all the materials that we need to do any particular project are set up, pre-picked, everything from racking to panels to the right inverters to the coupling that are required, the different enclosures that are required by certain laws and standards for electrical this or that, whatever it might be. All of that for each job is pre-picked and basically set up. In some cases, we shrink wrap it right onto a pallet and have it ready to go so that the next morning our trucks come in here and our installation guys come in. They know which job they're going to. They know which set of materials goes with it. They pick it up, they load it, and it goes right out to the job site. We put it on the roof as quick as possible. These guys can move these things pretty darn quickly.
And these clips are really good to move them around. They fit,
Isn't that amazing?
it's like an erector set.
Well,
you know,
this company, you know, what we're talking about here is sustainability at different levels. You know, whether it's energy production or the materials in your packing and your shipping. You know, SunPower spent a lot of time developing this type of a packaging piece so that it uses the least amount of material. There's the least amount of waste and discard. It's a recyclable product that can be reused and yet
it protects
the equipment itself in the long run. Because we're doing long-haul transit across the ocean, and so it's important that the product stay safe and so forth. Different people will use different processes. Here's somebody else using a completely different process, where basically they've got a bunch of panels stacked in here, basically in a big box. Now, which way is better? I think they both do the job of protecting the equipment appropriately, but here's a whole bunch of panels really stacked in, and so this large cardboard box then gets stacked on top of other large cardboard boxes just like it and would be in a big shipping container. An inverter is a device, the electricity that gets generated from a PV panel, a solar panel that creates electricity, comes out in direct current, DC electricity. And in our homes, we use AC electricity, alternating current. And so basically, once the electricity gets created from the panel, I'm kind of pointing at a cardboard box here, but we could probably get one out. The device that's in here takes that DC current, converts it into AC current, thus the inversion, the inverter part of it, and makes it usable for your home. So there's a couple different technologies. Actually, we could probably
I'd like to
show
see you have a high-tech one I want to see.
Yeah, so that's kind of the core technology that's been a known process for some time. We call that a centralized inverter. So an entire solar array would be hooked up to that one inverter, and then it would affect the energy from it. Now, what can happen is you can have multiple planes on a roof that are at different angles. And let's say you have a palm tree in your front yard, and it puts a little bit of shading on this roof, but there's no shading on this roof. Well, with the centralized inverter, all that energy goes to that one inverter, and you get an averaging effect. So because the palm tree is affecting your solar array on this roof, you kind of drag down slightly, and it's small. It's not the end of the world, but it drags down a small portion of the efficiency of the overall solar array, the overall solar system. So this new technology came out that's basically, it's called a microinverter, and these microinverters will be attached to each panel. So instead of going to one large centralized inverter, you have a much smaller, you could see how big the box was over there as a big piece of equipment. This is a much smaller piece of equipment that creates that conversion right at the panel level.
This is right underneath the panel, inside the panel.
Exactly. In fact, you saw those leads coming off of the panel.
Yeah.
They literally go right to here, and then this one goes on to the next one. So it's much cleaner, much quicker from the standpoint of installing these right up under the panel, and it leads to a higher efficiency. Here's a slightly different model from the last microinverter that I showed you.
It's smaller yet.
Yeah, even smaller, getting more condensed, slightly newer version. You know, what this allows you to do is this has a reporting function in it. So you can go online and you can see each panel, you can see the productivity, and you can watch on a day-to-day basis as your overall solar array is producing energy.
Before we left, Alex told us what Sunetric is doing in its expansion to the mainland. What's the inside story on your expansion to the mainland and North America?
We're happy to announce that we've already opened our first 3 offices. Our first office was in D.C., in Washington, D.C. We plan on being a player in the federal space. We've been very fortunate in the past. We've done a lot of Department of Defense and federal work in the past, and winning more projects like that is based on past performance typically.
So what is it that you can sell over there? Because they have PV there. What are you bringing to the table that makes it worthwhile for them to deal with a Hawaii company?
Great question. It goes back to that past performance. What we've got that very few people on the mainland have is a boatload of experience. We've built thousands of projects here in Hawaii. Hawaii is more progressive than a lot of the other states. The pricing coming down and so forth. So we feel like we have an opportunity with our DC office, our new Pittsburgh office, and our Denver office to really find the right markets, these right opportunities. We don't think that it's going to be just one location, one town, one state. We think that there's a lot of opportunities throughout the country, and what we're hoping to do is run these strategic regional offices that will help us go out and put together those types of projects and build those projects, whether we're financing the projects, whether we're just doing the engineering and design and construction management. However that may come, we think that there's different ways for us to participate and really leverage up our experience as an 8-year company that's been in the solar space, built lots of federal projects, built lots of large-scale commercial projects, built lots of residential projects. In the very near future, have utility-scale solar farm experience under our belt also.
Is Hawaii a special cachet in the market? Is that part of your, model here to say, we're from Hawaii. Hawaii knows about the sun. We are very experienced in this.
I got to tell you, I don't think the entire strategy is built on that idea, but as I travel around the mainland and talk with prospective customers, talk with prospective partners, and other solar companies and other solar professionals, when you say we're from Hawaii and we do solar, people will just click in their mind and we go, of course you do. And unfortunately, just now we're getting to the point where so many people in the state are going solar. It should be that. It should be that from a global standpoint. The entire world should think of solar and think of Hawaii, I think. Yes. This will stay a Hawaii company. What we're doing, the structure, the infrastructure that we've set up, the way that we've organized this, is we will use Hawaii people to do the engineering, to do the design, to do the project management, to do the finance arrangements and so forth. So we might have a lighter presence on the mainland in each of our regional offices that's actually helping to find these projects and helping to kind of funnel them back to us. But the vast majority of the work will be produced out of our experienced crew here in Hawaii. And then we'll use local companies to help us facilitate the construction of those projects. So it's kind of a win-win. But really, we think this is the exact opposite of what we've seen in the past. This is the opposite of the brain drain where we have talented folks and great IP and all these other things that starts in Hawaii and leaves for the mainland. We think this is a way to bring mainland dollars into Hawaii.
Sunetric is an 8-year-old solar company going somewhere, not only in Hawaii, but in the sophistication of its products and the creativity of its financing arrangements, and now most recently in its expansion to the mainland.
We love innovation, but what we love most is when Hawaii tech companies expand and start doing business outside of Hawaii also. The more Hawaii tech companies do that, the better for Hawaii.
Thanks to Alex Tiller, Chris Saunders, Teddy Anderson, and Francis Cho for arranging our tour of Sunetric, and thanks to Alex and all the friendly staff there for making it so informative. Now for our ThinkTech calendar of events going forward.
ThinkTech's 4 to 5 p.m. weekday drive time radio series on KGU 760 AM continues this week, covering business, Asia, tech, energy, the arts, and government. Tune in to 760 AM every weekday at 4 p.m. and raise your awareness on ThinkTech Radio.
On January 26, 2012, the Hawaii Venture Capital Association and ThinkTech will present the annual Deal of the Year Awards, celebrating the best deals of the year for entrepreneurs in Hawaii. Sign up for these programs on hvca.org. And now here's Bill Spencer, president of the Hawaii Venture Capital Association, with this week's Spensation.
We got to keep our governor, because if we pull his wings out, nothing will happen. You and I have had that conversation before.
Well, he needs a chance, and I don't think the press is giving him a fair shot. He accomplished this huge bond sale that'll get the financial house in order, and virtually the next day in the paper, they were talking about on a front page story how he's faltering. I just don't get it.
Moment. I mean, I think he's trying to remake his image. He's doing a lot of things to try to get over the criticism, and with a lot of people that resonates. And that's you and I appreciate it for sure. But what should he do at this point?
I think his first thing he can do is to make sure that the legislature is in lockstep with him in the coming year. I think last year there was a apparent lack of leadership, and now we know, or at least we think we know, what the possible reason for that was. But if he's got a new team in place that is much more savvy, he's got Oshiro on his side, it's time to get some cooperation from the ledge. He can't force that, but he can certainly work with them and ask them to be more supportive rather than combative. And there are no real issues for which there should be combat this year, I don't think, unless gambling rears its ugly head. But for the most part, I think a good legislative session that's realistic in what it sets out to do, with him being the acknowledged leader of the party that controls the ledge, that might be a helpful thing to do.
Yeah, it's all about, relationships. I remember Linda Lingle, she operated on the 5th floor, but she never went to any other floor. And I think, a good approach is to go to the other floors and to visit with the leadership of the legislature, to visit with individual committee chairs and members, just to talk story, try to get on the same page, mend fences, as it were. That would probably be helpful to achieve this sort of cooperative session you're talking about. Let me start the session with maybe a little light at the end of the tunnel on the bond issue.
Right.
And we can make some plans. We can actually do affirmative things.
Well, he has the plan. It's a question now of getting the buy-in.
Yeah.
And that really is the job, especially to the extent that new laws have to be passed to make the plan possible.
Well, I think we're at a turning point, because we really want a governor, and it's not a good idea to make a governor into a non-governor, because then we don't have anything.
That's right.
And we'll see here within the next 30, 60 days, really, what's going to happen. But yeah, I hope it takes root, what you're talking about.
Me too.
And here's our co-working entrepreneurs, Richung Fujihira and Tony Stanford, to keep us current on their latest adventures at the Box Jelly.
Yeah, for us with the company, we're kind of at that point where we've gotten to where we planned up to, So really what it's about now is just figuring out, looking at everything that we've done and calibrating it and taking the next step. Of course, we've been looking for a new space for quite a bit of time now, and we're still doing that. Figuring out what other kind of offerings we can bring to the table to the community out here.
So what we're doing is we aligned with 3 different realtors to look for both the idea of looking for space and the idea of looking for tenants. We are looking at revamping our board of advisories to match with the new ideas of what we're going after, or how we see co-working down the line, or where we could best provide for the community that would work. So redoing that takes some time, and then in the lovelies of seasons of the holidays, business, does take a step back to a little bit. So this is my first time doing something like this during the holidays, and so it's an interesting twist on things to see how things actually play out. So, but absolutely looking forward to move forward on what we're looking for next.
And also, like, one of our partners is going to be going back to the mainland soon. Hassan, he's going to go back and get married and stuff, so it's good for him. But, we're going to have to figure out a way to do without him because he brings a lot to the table.
He does.
So, yeah, it's kind of a strange time because, we're doing well in a lot of ways, and we're making money, and we're getting new members, like, every week, which is great. But at the same time, there are like a lot of challenges that we have to do in order to sustain growth.
Yeah, I mean, we're having so many eyes looking at us with the different things that we've been able to pull together, and so so a lot of people are watching us now. So we gotta stay on top of that. It doesn't matter what comes at us, via the holidays, via losing a member, or where to go on next. So it's great in a lot of ways. In other ways, it's like don't trip. So if everyone could do it, I understand why everyone doesn't do it, because it does take some strength, and it's not the easiest thing in the world. So I'm becoming a little less naive on that. Just a tad. The box jelly, place to work,
Place to meet.
place to build. Work the way you live.
Work the way you live.
Thank you.
We'll be right back to wrap up this week's edition of ThinkTech, but first we want to thank our underwriters.
Thanks to the Scheidler Family Foundation, which supports a number of educational, cultural, and charitable organizations, including ThinkTech.
Hawaiian Electric Company and its affiliates Nico on Maui and Helco on the Big Island are deeply committed to the communities they serve.
Galen Ho is a senior executive of BAE Systems, a global defense, security, and aerospace company, and CEO of CBI Polymers, a tech company in Hawaii.
Oceanet, another local tech company, is one of Hawaii's largest and most diversified science and engineering companies.
Okay, Elisa, that wraps up this week's edition of ThinkTech. Remember, you can watch ThinkTech on OC16 several times every week. Can't get enough of it, just like Elisa does. For additional times, check out oc16.tv.
You bet, Jay. For lots more ThinkTech videos and for underwriting and sponsorship opportunities on ThinkTech on OC16, visit thinktechhawaii.com. Be a sponsor. Help us reach Hawaii.
I'm Jay Fidell. Thanks for joining us on ThinkTech.
I'm Alisha Onishi. Aloha, everyone.